and welcome to episode 65 of Retro Recall, the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
So, just to get this started, I have a sore throat, so I'm going to be chugging water, and my voice might sound weird halfway through when my voice gets tired. So, I'm saying that now.
And for anyone who watched the video podcast version, sorry for the last, 2 or 3 episodes where my camera was just freaking out nonstop. It's upgraded now. It's better. We're good to go.
Yeah, I didn't realize how bad it was. And then when I was just editing, I'm like, wow, it is like flashing all the time.
Granted, I did buy that maybe like 9 or 10 years ago. So it's reached its peak. It was time to retire it.
You got your money's worth.
I did, yeah. Granted, I mean, that's how our show has been from the beginning of we started just on a budget and we just keep it on a budget the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just slowly upgrading over time. That's how I do anything. Yeah. So today we have Omega Boost, which is a rail shooter.
Which is another one you picked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you find this one? Is it just something you looked up or you knew about this?
So I think I mentioned this to you off the show at some point, but I've been wanting to play another shoot 'em up game, kind of like Harmful Park or something. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole. I'm like, I don't know if I want to play another just straight up shoot 'em up again. So that kind of led me to more 3D shooters and stuff like that.
Right.
And then I got here and I'm like, well, Van Ark, it's been like a year, right? That's the last kind of one of these we played.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah. I mean, that or Armored Core, I guess, but this is not the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of my thought process. And like, we'll get into like, the developers interesting for this. We have to talk about that. And just, I like these kind of games. So I was kind of excited to play one, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's fair enough. And I mean, bringing up Van Ark, that was our very first one that we did. I know you mentioned like, hey, are we going to compare these two? I honestly don't think so. I feel like they're so different in the way that you play the game that we don't even need to compare the two.
I hear you. I just didn't know because we kind of do this thing where the last game in this genre that we've played, we'll compare them. And
True.
I do think this has a lot of similarities to Van Ark.
Yes and no. I think I can see where you're coming from with why there's similarities to you. I just feel like the game style, I from beginning to end, I feel like it's two different things.
I agree with you. I just think that if there was anything we had that we could compare to, it would be that.
Yeah. And I even went back and watched our episode on that because I kind of forgot what that even looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be like, okay, remind myself what we even dealt with in that game.
Well, okay. The reason I brought any of this up was that I have a question that I've been kind of pondering myself for a while. You see it in the rundown here, but are we essentially creating like nostalgia for ourselves to games that we've played on this show? Because I think at the end of every episode, we do that thing where we rank them and all that. And you're like, oh, this game's way better than this. And then, you look at the scores and that game's a 5, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, I think it was last week, we were talking about Driver. Last week or the week before. Because there was a rating, whatever. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here.
No, you're fine.
I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, Driver wasn't that bad. And then I think about when we actually played it, right? And it was not fun. And I think back about Van Ark and I really liked it. And then I'm like, but I gave it a 6 or a 6.5. Are we essentially doing the thing that we shouldn't be doing and, creating a new bias in nostalgia for games that we played literally a year ago?
Maybe, but I also think it's all within context because I think with the Driver one, that was was it Brain Dead 13 that we compared it to?
No, it wouldn't have been that. That was like a 2 or whatever.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. That was
it was WWF Attitude. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think within the context of when we're like, hey, it's this versus this. Yeah, we're going to be like, oh, Driver 1 was so much more fun compared to what we're playing now. if you told me, hey, we're doing another Driver episode, I'm gonna be like, no, I don't want to play that game. I don't want to do something else.
Well, there is a sequel, so we're gonna have to play that eventually.
Yes, and it is better from what I remember. But I just think, yeah, if we talk about Driver One on its own, it sucks. It wasn't a good game. But when you have to compare it against something else, yeah, I'm much happier to play that than this.
That's fair. Maybe I'm just personally guilty of this then, and I'm just asking you if you are also.
I mean, I get it where you're coming from with this. And I think, again, too, which is why we change our scores from time to time, is just given the time since we've played it, you really think about it more and you're like, but was it that bad? Or what? Like you with Van Ark, you gave it what? You said a 5 and you said you like it. But I finally remember that, like, things being fine, it was just the limitations that they had within the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar to this game in a lot of the ways that we're going to talk about. But
Yes.
no, I just think about that and I think about like some of these games that, left a lasting memory on me. No, that's not the right phrase. Left a lasting impression on me. And I gave it a low score, but then I still think about it. So it's like, should that score be higher then? I don't know.
That's true. But I could say the same for like Master Blaster and stuff like that, where I still think about it specifically for how unique it was, but also the soundtrack. I still listen to that soundtrack to this day.
Yeah.
And with the scores where we place them, I agree that, yeah, that's where it belongs. But I mean, there's going to be little things like that where, like, Bust a Groove.
Yeah.
Like the music behind that, you're going to think about and you're going to think, like, that was fun. But if I brought up to you, like, hey, do you want to play this? You're going to be like, no.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know. It's just so interesting to play so many games like this. I've never experienced anything like it. So just different emotions all the time with all these different games.
And like we talked about, I think early on in this show, just when we get to probably year 3, year 4, and then having to compare to games of year 1, it's like, we don't even remember what happened in that game.
We're literally going to have to like pause the episode and then like do research, watch our old video, then come back and be like, all right, now I feel,
we did some analysis and this is what we think.
I don't know. I mean, that's going to be really tough. I mean, I'm already kind of feeling that a little bit just because, like, you lose the nuance of how playing a game feels. You just kind of remember the big picture stuff that was messed up about it.
The main complaints that we had, or the main things we praised the game for. Yeah, it'll be tough, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yep. But all right. So with that, I think we could just hop into Omega Boost. Omega Boost was released on September 14th, 1999. It was developed by Polyphony Digital and published by Sony. And Polyphony Digital are the developers of the Gran Turismo series. This is the only non-racing game they've ever made, which is interesting.
Crazy.
I added that into the rundown literally right before we started because I was doing a little bit of research and I was like, wow, all right, worth talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a rail shooter. We played Van Ark, which was also a rail shooter, but this kind of has a different approach. It's less about the adventure and more about like just pure combat and waves.
Yeah. Whenever I did a quick preview of the video before even playing it, the immediate vibes I got was Zone of the Enders.
Yeah.
Because that is literally you're in a mech flying around shooting things. And I gotta say, even playing the game, I felt like it was Zone of the Enders. And just the intensity of the fights of spinning around reminded me of playing that. And I was kind of enjoying myself a little bit.
Yeah, I just, and this will kind of bring into the first thing I wanted to talk about anyway. I feel like Zone of the Enders had a story that I gave a shit about.
Yes.
Whereas this does not.
The biggest point I can bring up about the story is it's the most most generic science fiction concept ever. Even reading through the manual, it's like did you just take every movie ever made ever and just put it into a generic description of what your game's about? Because that's what it feels like to me.
So I didn't look at the manual, but what I did was I looked at the story breakdown from the manual, and it's like
Okay.
literally 5 or 6 paragraphs of all this shit. And I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
But like the story, correct me if I'm wrong, it is you are going back in time to do something with the very first computer in the 50s to stop something bad from happening.
Kinda, yeah. So it's the mech we have is a time machine, I think, that we can travel back. And the whole thing is there's an algorithm or an AI, sorry, an AI that is a virus called Alpha Core. And it's pretty much taking over the network. All they do is they call it the network. I don't know what the fuck the network is, but it's taking over the network, and we got to go back and prevent it from ever taking over the network.
Okay.
That yeah. Does anything in the gameplay resemble AI at all? No. Like it's just monsters you're fighting, and it makes no sense to what we're doing compared to the story.
Well, how far did you make it? What level did you make it to?
5.
Oh, me too.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I was just going to say 5 is when I felt like it was starting to get into the potential of what that story is because you're in the time machine. Like that's what the tube is, I think.
Oh, so is that okay? So the time machine isn't your suit. The time machine is that planet thing where you got to go down that tube to get
Yeah.
there. Okay, that makes sense.
I played 3 playthroughs of this.
Oh
Um,
wow.
the third one I just stopped because I'm like, I had enough. But
Yeah.
the second time I made it to the fifth, they're called zones, right? Fifth zone.
Or
And
axed, I think. I don't know.
whatever. And that's the tube. And I just got so frustrated with specifically the dodging and stuff, which we'll get into. But
Yep.
I made it to the boss a few times, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this. It's so just,
Yep.
it's too much.
So I only did one playthrough. I got to level 5 and wasted everything on that. And then you happen to text me like, "Hey, do you want to start early?" I'm like, "That's my excuse to not play this anymore. Of course, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, the footage that you are watching right now is my playthrough from the other day where I made it to 5. So
Okay.
keep that in mind as we watch. But yeah, so to get back into the story, I mean, we'll get into the gameplay elements in a second here. I had some hope when I saw the FMV in the beginning.
How shocked were you when that popped up? Because for me, whenever the first hand like shows up in frame, I'm like, "Oh, that looked very realistic." Like that's what the hell? And then it goes into these like full on actors in green screen rooms. I'm like, I was not expecting this at all.
I kind of wish they went farther with it and just like
Yes.
really got into the cheesy, campy territory. I think that would have brought a lot to this game. Because like we always talk about, games around this time, they had the horrible FMV, and I love that stuff. It's just stupid. But I think it also adds something to the game. You know, it might not make it better, but it adds just more.
I don't know. Compared to all the other FMV stuff we've seen on this show so far, I feel like this was the best production. So, like, to this point, like comparing it to D, which was all FMV, but like that looked terrible. Like, typically, whenever you have real actors inside of a 3D environment, it never looks great from this time period.
Hmm.
But I felt like, yeah, you can see some green screen glitches, or you can see like, oh, the proportions aren't correct sometimes. But put together, I felt like it was very well done.
Well, keep in mind, this is a first party Sony game. So this was probably a big deal. So they probably put some money to make it look good.
Oh yeah. Seeing how they like got the actors to interact with each other with the green screen and stuff. I'm like, how did you even manage to pull that shot off? Because that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish there was more. And I think they could have done it. Like, I saw a second cutscene. I think it's after level 4, 3 or 4. I forget which one.
I think I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't remember.
It was very short, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying I want, 10 minutes of footage between every level, but just a little bit more would have been cool, you know.
Not to mention that intro goes on for such a long time. And every time when you're watching a game intro, you know when they do this one specific action, you know the title card's about to come up. There's about 6 of those actions in the beginning. I'm like, where's the title card? We should be done by now.
It just keeps going and going, and like, it looks good, but it's not really interesting, and it's so dry.
I felt like it could easily pass. Like if you made a show just with this style, this could work for like the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, it totally looks just as good as like 90s sci-fi that was on TV.
Yeah. But on top of that, with just the intro alone, what did you think once you heard that guitar riff start coming in?
You want to get into this music right now? Because I got some things to say about it.
Well, I mean, because it starts with the intro cinematics. So yeah, I go for it.
So I thought it was so cheesy and bad that it made me like it more.
It doesn't belong at all to what this genre is, to what the style is. But I love it. It was great.
Like nothing like some stupid butt rock to just toss in there and just, I don't know. I like that more than the music in the game, because the music in the game is just generic like techno.
Kind of, but except for like on stage 5, you have that like almost a pop dancey song.
I don't remember that one, but
Yeah, I just remember specifically hearing it like, this doesn't belong in this level. Why is this here?
I don't know. There was just nothing that stood out about the music. Like there were not really melodies or anything that let you latch onto it. It was just kind of background music, which is fine. I'm not going to knock it for that, but I think if this game had some banging music throughout, it would have elevated it for me.
I do give them props for not following the standard protocol of let's put in some dance techno EDM over top of your mech game. Like we saw with Armor Core and Zone of the Enders does it. Every time you have a robot, there's EDM on over top of it.
But it is kind of sick though.
It works. I get it. But I mean, on top of that, like I was shocked that they had this punk butt rock song. And then you go to the options, and then it sounds like an alt rock band from this time period playing, and you're like, what are we doing here? Like it sounded familiar too. I don't know. I looked up the soundtrack list and it's not any band that I knew about. So
I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like they had a unified vision on this game. That's what I'll say.
That's a great way to put it. But also at the end of the manual, they have ads for the Static X album.
What the fuck?
And it makes no sense. Why? It made me think Static X was the one who was playing during the options menu, but it wasn't.
No way. Yeah. I mean, that's some good advertising, I guess.
Don't know how they pulled that one off to get in there.
I have no idea. But yeah, enough Static X talk. I think we can, get into the gameplay, I guess. Well, okay, hold on. I think we can get into the graphics first. Because we've already talked about kind of all the elements of the presentation,
Yeah.
I think the graphics are great. There's not a lot going on as far as like backgrounds, but it doesn't really need it.
For how much you're spinning around and you're never looking in one direction for too long, you don't need the fancy background. Everything is just right in front of you when you need it to be in front of you. And much like Elemental Gearbolt, like the bosses on here are phenomenal. Each one designed really well.
Yeah.
And each unique to one another.
I guess like a lot of them are just ships though, but they do enough to kind of mix it up, and they have different attacks and different ways you have to hurt them. So I'll give them props for that.
It kind of reminded me of like Einander, like those bosses.
Yeah. Yeah. I also just like that after, I think the first 2.5 levels, we start to get into new enemies. So it doesn't feel too stale. I mean, obviously we didn't beat the game, but if it keeps going at the pace that it was going, I think it's going to be nice.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, like you're moving so fast that you can't even see the enemies half the time. Like you're spinning around, locking on, shooting, spinning around, locking on. Like you never get a chance to really look at them.
Mm-hmm.
There's that one level which we're looking at the boss for now, but prior to getting to this boss, you're in like a pitch black world and these things just show up like they look like spider
Oh yeah.
robot things. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm just shooting and that's all.
Those things did look kind of terrifying though. I will give you that.
Yeah. It made me wonder like, are we underwater? Because that's what it felt like, but there was no context of where we were.
I will say I prefer the levels where you're in an open area as opposed to like the planet or being in the tube.
And that's what I hated the most about level 5 was how you're restricted on where you can go and you're just confined to a small space. And I get they need to amp up the difficulty and stuff, but it didn't feel as fun.
Well, even the level we're looking at now where you're like on, a planet, it's so easy to get disoriented now that there is a quote unquote ground. So like I don't know. I would just have preferred if I could kind of either find a way to lock myself and keep my orientation, or if I was just truly free roaming and didn't have to worry about the ground, if that all makes sense.
Yeah. It's just when we're outside flying around shooting these giant robots, the fights feel so epic. Just like you're dodging all this stuff. It's an intense fighting scene. But then when you're confined, it's like, oh, I can only move a little bit over here and then a little bit over here. And then there's not as much as excitement to me
Yeah.
in those fights.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into specifics in a second here, but let's get into the gameplay and explain how this game actually works so they can understand why we're mad about these things.
True. Yes.
So you have two attacks. You have just a homing missile attack where you just kind of select them on the screen and then push the button. And you can also rapid fire anytime you want.
I wouldn't say anytime you want.
Most of the time.
I've never been able, like, you don't get a choice in when you get to use which gun.
What do you mean? Yeah, you do.
What do you mean? If I was using the what's it called? The scan mode,
Mm-hmm.
then you get all your points and you shoot your rockets.
Yeah.
And then it's just like while your rockets are firing, you're allowed to shoot your machine gun until they hit, and then you get lock-ons again.
You can just keep tapping when the lock-ons show up and just do it anyway.
Unless that was happening to me and I just never paid attention to that, I only recall it ever happening while I was waiting for missiles to blow up.
So the first time I played through it, I didn't really use the lock-on very much, and I just kind of shot the whole time.
Oh.
And
Interesting.
then I realized that locking on is the way you have to play this game.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's just you get waves of enemies that come at you. After you get through a certain amount of waves, then you get to a boss fight. Sometimes there's a pre-boss fight and then a second boss fight after that.
I'm pretty sure every level has 2 boss fights or more.
Probably. Yeah.
But regardless, like there's like a mini boss, and then you have the main boss of the level.
Yeah. But with how long you spend inside of each level, it's not very long at all. So it just kind of all flies by.
No, I mean, like when we started this podcast, I started my gameplay, and we are on level 5 right now. So like that should give you enough as to how long this will take.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's your weapons. You can't really upgrade anything or get any other abilities. You can get more missiles. I unlocked, I think it's called the Viper Boost, which is like a special attack.
Did you waste yours?
The first time, yes.
Yep. I was like fighting this one boss and I'm like, oh yeah, I have this boost thing. I don't know what that boost thing does. Push the button, didn't realize it's an automatic, you waste the entire meter. And I'm like, well, I should have saved that for later.
Yeah, my second time when I played, I used it on the spider boss on level 4. Because that boss is annoying as hell.
On level 4.
That was the one that had this yellow attack that would grapple you and rip you in.
Oh, that thing, yeah. It was kind of like an anglerfish that just grabbed you.
I hated that. That's almost
Honestly,
where I
that
quit.
may have been the one where I accidentally used it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish this had different weapons, unlockables, anything. Like, even if there was like 4 guns the whole game, that'd be fine. Not just literally what you have in the beginning.
Quite literally anything. And or even just keep the 2 weapons you have and have upgrades.
Mhm.
Like that's anything aside from just here's your base weapon and that's what you get from beginning to end.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it because these kind of games always have different weapons and power ups. I don't know why this doesn't.
Yeah, because even Van Ark, which was I feel more simplistic than this, had different weapons you could choose from.
It's just crazy because usually, we go straight to the like, oh, they must have ran out of time or like the budget. But this game has budget behind it. So like there's not really an excuse. I don't understand it.
It made me think about Van Ark and the fact of how Van Ark had amazing cutscenes. It's like, did they just spend all their money on the cutscenes? And then you come to this with amazing cutscenes. It's like, well, did they spend all their money on the cutscenes again?
Yeah, but I don't know. And we'll get into this later, but at least Van Ark takes some shots at trying to be more than what this is.
Yep.
This is just literally you're here for the combat with the mech. That is it.
There's no in between story or anything. You just go, oh, level 1, oh, level 2, level 3, and then you just keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, there's those minimal cutscenes I was talking about, but like, all right, whatever. There's not really much of anything there.
But they don't happen enough. It's just you get it randomly here and there, but that's it.
What I'm saying is, even those, they don't give you anything anyway. It's literally just like him going to a planet. Like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, all right.
Which, by the way, yeah, the planet thing. They set out that mission from level 1.
Mm-hmm.
The entire game is just you trying to get to this planet. That's the entire game.
So my impression when the game was starting was that we had already gone back in time and now we're starting the game there. That's what I thought was
Yeah.
going to happen. And then they're like, no, you're just going to fuck around in space for 4 levels, I guess.
That and it's like, okay, I feel like the first mission is me getting to this planet and we're going to progress. It's not like, oh, we're setting up the entire game for you right now, but you got to work your way there.
Yeah. In addition to the weapons, obviously movement is a big part of this game.
Yes.
I think this game does do the movement pretty well.
Yeah.
So you have your boost and you have a dodge. You can dodge any direction except for backwards, which I think this game 100% needed.
Yes.
Because like I can see this feeling like how the new Armored Core games feel, right? Where it's almost Souls-like in its dodging. If you could just dodge backwards, like boost in, few attacks, dodge right out, that would be sick.
But then there's also a break that you have. And I kept pushing the break button and nothing ever happened. So I don't know what was supposed to happen.
Well, I think that you just use that to, if you want to try and get like a quick attack in before you boost away, right?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I don't have an answer for you. But you also have the thing where you can spin around, which I do like.
Spin around. What thing?
Like you flip around.
Oh, the scan mode.
Is that what you're...
When you push L1?
Yeah, yeah. Where like you're going straight, you hit it and you can turn completely around.
Oh, like the look behind you button. Or you mean physically you're turning
You're
around?
physically turning around, yeah.
And it's when you push L1?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the scan button. And that's what you use to kind of lock on to people.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, what do you mean lock onto people?
So, oh, wow. Jeez. Okay. So if you have 5 enemies flying towards you, you push L1 and your guy will orient himself right to the 5 people and you can move your thing around and he stays stationary to locking onto them. And you can move your reticle around to lock on to each person and then fire missiles. If they go behind you, you let go of the button, push it again, he'll spin around and the people are right in front of you again. And you get to do all your things. So when you're fighting a boss, you just hold in that button and you stay looking at that boss no matter where you go.
I never did that. I just was flying around, zooming around, boosted everywhere.
Huh. Did you do the training?
Yeah.
So then how did you do the okay, so there's a specific training thing with balloons that you gotta pop.
So I failed that one and then just moved on.
Oh. I think the first level of the training is how to use your scan button and how to lock onto people.
So I'll say I played the campaign first and then did the training
Okay.
after for footage.
Oh,
Because I was like, maybe there's
that makes
something I'm
sense.
missing. And that's when I realized that locking on is the main mechanic. So, you know, what you're watching now is my first time playing this, where I'm just kind of shooting randomly, figuring it out as I go.
That makes more sense then.
Yeah. But regardless, I still had fun though. I don't want this to seem like I'm being negative. I had fun boosting around. I think the movement in this game is great. And the frame rate is great in this game. Holds pretty well. I mean, there's obviously dips every here and there, but with this kind of game, it needs to be smooth. And I felt like it was smooth most of the time.
Whenever you have a game where you have to fight in space or in the air, you need to make sure it's running smoothly. And so, like, whipping around and locking onto all these people and like shooting all of them and constantly spinning around, I didn't notice anything at all to degrade the quality of the game.
I think that makes it just that much more fun. It's just like you're smooth and you're boosting around like a badass. It, like, feels like you're playing anime. It's fun.
Yeah. Now, the biggest thing was whenever you're in the main options and the stars are moving in the background. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
Like on the main menu before you actually get into the game.
Okay. Yeah.
The background is moving, the stars are moving,
Mm-hmm.
and like swirling around. Just trying to go through the options and see like what there is. I was getting so much motion sickness from the stars moving in the background. And like, this is not a good sign for me if the background of the main options is making me sick.
I didn't even notice that.
Really? Wow. I mean, surprisingly, the rest of the game I was fine until I was done playing, and then I felt off afterwards. But I think I was just so focused on like the fights that I wasn't really paying attention to all the other movement going on.
I mean, I think it's the classic case of like I've said that what's going to bother me is the first person games and the other stuff bothers you.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, dude, even Amanda, like we'll be watching something. If there's anything with like swirling shots, like things turning or like quick zooms or a lot of motion blur, she's like, I can't look at this and just like tell me when it's over.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's roughly probably what I am too.
I
Then.
know. That's why I brought it up because it reminds me of what I go through
That's
when I'm
crazy.
watching TV with her.
But I mean, surprisingly, they do a good job of not making you sick for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's just because your guy is always in the center and you're always
Yes.
moving with him. So like it's hard to mess that up, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you could easily mess it up, but they did a good job of not messing it up.
True, true. And like even though the camera is a little wonky sometimes, especially when you're spinning around everywhere, it never feels bad enough that I would want to like knock this game for it. It's just it adds to the chaos in a good way.
Yeah. The only time I can think of where that specifically made me so frustrated was level 5. When you have all those pipes that you have to dodge. If you hit one pipe, you're hitting every pipe because you can't correct yourself fast enough to start dodging again.
All right, I think level 5 is complete fucking garbage and I think that
Yes.
I don't know how anybody would play that and think it's a good idea or fun.
Nope.
Up until that point, I had a great time, and I got to that, and I'm like, I'm not putting in the effort to learn this. I'm done.
It was one of those things of 1 through 4, you kind of flew by. Yeah, there's frustrating parts, but everything felt so nice. Level 5 is like they just turned up the difficulty knob to the max of like, oh, we need to start introducing difficulty now. And it just is way too difficult at that point.
I don't even think that's the problem because the first time I played through this, as you'll watch here, I died multiple times. Like I had tough times getting through the bosses. I had to do them a couple times, but it's all about learning and getting better at it. And level 5 is nothing like the rest of the levels. So everything you've learned is gone. It doesn't matter anymore. So now you're in this tight little space and The precise movement needed in there is not something that you've had to do this entire game.
And it's not even in the training.
No, and like you said, if you hit one thing, you're hitting everything, and it just sucks. It's not fun. The boss, the first boss anyway, it's constantly you having to turn around and recenter yourself. And then the
Yep.
spider is also hard, and it just, dude, it made me so frustrated because I was having such a good time. And when I got to it, I'm like, well, there's where I'm stopping.
And on going off of that, there's no save points. There's no checkpoints. If you die, you die. If you die later in the level, you just get back to the beginning of the level. But you only have 5 continues. There's no way to get more continues. So once you're done with your quote unquote run of the game, it's back to level 1 for you.
And there's no way to heal, and you don't fully heal after levels either.
Nope. And that's where the super, super fun experience gets tainted. Of you have this epic space fighting, relatively good music. It depends on how you want to look at it. But then, and like the smooth gameplay, but then no weapon upgrades, no health upgrades or health regeneration, no anything else that could help improve the game even more.
This is the base idea, and then they never went farther with it. This is like a proof of concept.
Just like how we talked about with Van Ark and a lot of other games. Like, here's our one idea, but we're not going to expand upon it. It's a weird choice.
It just needed more love and more little touches to kind of push it over the edge, and it just doesn't have that.
Even a save feature between each level. Hey, do you want to save your progress? Yes, done. Let's go.
Well, this game also seems like it wants to be an arcade experience. You know, there you put in your score at the end, and I'm
Yep.
like, dude, this is not that kind of vibe.
It's one of those things. I don't know if you feel the same way, but we've gotten to the point in the show now when I see specific things, I already have an idea of where this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
For me, whenever I see a score bar, I automatically know it's going to be a bullshit game and I'm not going to have a lot of fun at the end of the day.
You know, I can agree with you there, but again, like my expectations were broken in the first few levels, and then, you know, eventually it just kind of goes back to the way it always is.
Yeah. And that's a fair point to bring up too. Like they kind of mislead you in the beginning of the game because I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, this is nothing like what my expectations were. Nope. Level 5 made sure to put your expectations back into place.
Well, also, you have to score a certain amount and get a good enough rank, or you can't get the upgrades.
Yep. So in theory, you can go through this entire game of never getting the Viper boost.
I just don't think you'd even be able to beat it unless you like really study.
Mm-hmm. But that's where another mode aside from campaign comes in, which is the zone mode, I think it's called.
Zone selector.
Zone selector, which is just a practice mode for each level. So for me, level 5, I used up all my continues on level 5. And then I went into the zone mode and I put maybe 5 or 6 attempts specifically into level 5 to just what am I doing wrong and how can I fix this and like improve. And after I think the 5th or 6th attempt, I cleared it. I beat the spider and I beat everything with a decent amount of health left. So I don't know what I was doing differently.
Yeah.
But now to apply that knowledge to the main game, I got to start back at level 1 and work my way back up to level 5 again.
It just like is almost padding in a way. You know what I mean? You can't
The
save.
difficulty?
No, I just mean you can't save between any of the levels. So anytime
Oh,
you want to
yeah.
do it again, you have to play through the whole game. You know, it's not that long, but still, it's annoying.
It's really not. To get from level 1 to 5 was about what, 20 minutes if that.
Yeah. I don't know though. It just gets frustrating. Like 'cause you have to play perfectly because you have to get the upgrades. So
Yes.
it's not like you can just zone out and just play all these levels and get to where you want to go, because then you're screwing yourself. So you have to be locked in and ready to go, you know?
And what does the whole thing mean with like the amount of enemies killed or the percent cleared or something? Do you literally have to kill every enemy on the screen to get a higher ranking in that?
Yes. So, like, obviously enemies will just fly away if you don't kill them.
That makes sense because I've gotten ones where it's like, oh, 40, 50%. I'm like, but what did I miss? I thought I shot at everything.
Yeah, like the level we're looking at right now, level what is level 3? If you don't kill all these things, they just fly away.
That makes sense. I thought they kept attacking you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the only things you have to kill are the bosses or maybe some of the waves you have to kill, but like you just saw right there, they flew away and I didn't kill them all. Right there again, they're flying away. I didn't get them all.
That does make sense. In my mind, yeah, they flew away, but I thought they were turning around and coming back from a different angle.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if the game taught you this, but what can you do? Yeah, I mean, it's all about killing as many enemies as possible and not wasting your shots, not taking damage. And that's how you get a higher rank, which lets you get the unlocks. And also, you can unlock special levels in the zone selector that are only in there.
Oh, so it's not like in the main game.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 levels, I believe, that you can unlock that are just in there. And I looked it up. You get them by like beat the game on hard, beat the game A rank on every single level, stuff like that.
Could you imagine trying to do that?
Never. But I mean, if you really love this game, I could see that being fun, but you know, what can you do?
If this was one of your only games and you were putting that many hours into it, then sure, but just no, thank you. Aside from that, there's the first person mode.
Hmm.
Did you use that at all?
I looked at it for all of 2 seconds and I'm like, this will make me sick.
No, I get that entirely. I used it in 5. I'm like, maybe this will help me kill this spider thing. It didn't. It just was worse.
I don't even know what the purpose of it is. It was so disorienting immediately.
And if you hit a pipe in level 5 while in first person mode, it's even worse. Like the camera's just spinning around. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at right now.
Oh, you have to put that in the video. I got to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we also didn't talk about if you get hit by anything, you're like stunned for a second, and that includes enemies, enemy mechs, anything. So specifically when you're fighting the bosses that are other mechs, it gets kind of frustrating because they're constantly flying directly at you.
Hmm. And whenever, I'm sorry for keep bringing it up, but in level 5, with all the missiles from the spider, and you're hitting every single missile that's coming at you, it's like, I can't do anything here.
I just hate that level so fucking much. And I understand you keep bringing it up, and I'm just like, it just almost ruins the game.
That's the sad part about it. Of I know we keep harping on this one level, but that level alone is what hurts this game the most. And I don't know if it gets better. I mean, think about it. We're talking about how they set it up that you're in this planet, you gotta go down this tube to get to the time machine thing. So in theory, levels 6, 7, 8, and 9 are also all in the tube.
I'm pretty sure after 5, the rest of it is in space or on a planet.
Oh. Weird.
Because like you do the thing and now you're back in time, right?
Oh, is that what that they're getting at with that?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I looked at some of the footage from later in the game and it just looked like normal levels, but
Okay.
I don't know. It might seem strange for us to kind of like harp on this game for one bad level, but it's just so not fun that it just makes me not want to play. Like I've been saying, with the having to do well to get the upgrades, having to play perfectly, without so much practice, I would never be able to play that level perfectly. So to me, it almost just feels like I shouldn't play the game now because I'm never going to get the upgrades I need.
Yep. And whenever you lose, they give you a whole ranking of all the levels and how you did. Mine was like A, B, C, D. Like it's
Yeah.
just you saw that decline. So it's like for those later levels, you just really need to be on your A game and just shoot everything and dodge everything.
All right. I think we've kind of said all we need to say here. Are you ready to move into reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the game got mixed but mostly positive reviews. I went through and looked at a lot of them, and they're not really that interesting. They're all just like, yeah, this is really cool, but nothing really. So I found one of the lowest reviews. Computer and Video Games Magazine gave it a 3 out of 5, And, that's not even that low, really. But they said, not a bad game, but its long term appeal is going to be limited. There are only 9 levels, and you should get halfway on your first attempt. Rent it if you want to blow something up this weekend.
Which, not wrong. You make it over halfway on your first attempt.
I mean, I made it to level 4 on my first attempt, and there's 9 levels, so there you go.
That's the other thing I don't think we really touched too much on. 9 levels. Is that enough for this game? Is it not enough? I don't know.
I mean, I go back and forth on that because for this kind of game, would you want there to be more? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the same thing we talked about with Van Ark. Like, you don't want to drag out what you already have. You want to just get the game over with before it gets too boring.
Yeah. I mean, with it being an arcade style game, you don't really want to have like a 3-hour runtime, right?
True.
But if this had all the things we talked about, then I could see it having that longer runtime and working. I don't know. Absolute PlayStation gave the game an 85 out of 100, and they said, Omega Boost is everything that's great about 2D side scrollers in a 3D world. Well, everything except for the 2-player option and massive selection of power-ups, that is. The control method was initially a real pain. It took me hours to feel comfortable with it, but once mastered, levels that seemed impossible were passed with ease.
Where the few hours just to get a control of the aiming system?
I don't know. I feel like it took me a good half an hour to get really used to everything.
I guess, yeah. For me, I just did training and that taught you what you needed to do. So I was fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Just getting a feel for it. And I also didn't do the
Yeah,
training,
yeah,
so, whatever.
Also true.
But all right, that brings us to our scores. I can go first or you can go first. What are you thinking?
I can go first.
Okay.
Usually you throw it to me whenever you don't know or something, but I can take it this time. Like we've been saying, I love this game up until level 5. After beating level 5 in the training thing or the testing area, could I go back and probably beat it again? Yes, but then I'm probably going to just get stuck on 6 and have to do that all over again. Without the saves, without the weapon upgrades, you're taking a very awesome game and just degrading it with your lack of options. But, well, yeah, there's no but. It would be a lot higher on those lists if it wasn't for those things, and I'm just going to go with a 6.
Another week in a row where I am also at a 6.
Well, wow.
So I agree with everything you said. I think what the core of this game is good, and what's there is fun. It's just missing all the little touches. And I still think Van Ark is better. So I gave Van Ark a 6.5. So I was going to go with a 6 on this. I think Van Ark takes more shots with its cinematic presentation and the walking around stuff, even though that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme.
Yes.
It's still just more than what this game has to offer. And I think the movement in this game is probably better. And like the actual moment to moment gameplay is probably better. But as a package, Van Ark is better. So 6 for me on this, 6.5 for Van Ark.
Yeah, and I gave it just a half point higher than Van Ark, where I think, yeah, they took their shots for Van Ark, but at the same time, if you're going to take shots like that, go all in. And they didn't with the story. And that's where my problem was with it, of do more, make it better than what it could be.
My rebuttal to that, though, is like, that was a smaller game by a smaller company, and this is a first party Sony game. Like, there's no fucking excuse for you. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
Maybe they didn't have the money. I know Sony's got the money.
Yeah. All right, well, that gives us a giant list. And I kind of felt bad giving it a 6. I'm like, here we are. We always talk about giving things 6s, and here we are doing it again. But we have Persona 1, Van Ark, Rising Zan, Tetris Plus, The Next Tetris, and Rayman 1, Bomberman World, Destruction Derby. My God, that list didn't end.
Think about in a couple years when you're going to read 30 games.
At that point, I'm going to be like, okay, which general area do you think we're going to put in?
So where I'm at on this is I would probably put this below Rising Zan, above Tetris Plus.
I You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same exact thing.
Hell yeah, nice and easy.
Yeah, there's not much more to say, but I think just like everything we said about Van Ark, this could be so much better. We could have been sitting at a 9 on this,
Hmm.
but it's just those few things you chose not to do. Now we're down at the sixes.
Could have been in the top 10, and now it's what, number 44?
44. That's crazy.
You know, what can you say? I think I wanted to like this game a lot more than I did. You know, I liked what was there, but I just wanted more from it.
Yeah, and it being from the people who made Gran Turismo, like knowing that this is the only time they went away from that, I would have loved to see a second one. Maybe they would have had a lot more features and everything we're complaining about being fixed.
Imagine if they made one now. That shit would be nuts.
Yeah, it quite literally would be Zone of the Enders, but amped up and more fast paced.
That's what I like, because like even now, the people that make the Forza games are making the new Fable game. So like,
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, seeing them get out of their wheelhouse is interesting. Like I want to see how that goes, you know?
That would be very interesting.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as give us a rating on podcast services. We'll see you next week.